Grace, you need to understand what you've done. How could you leave your duties as a wife and cause problems for William? You're a terrible wife. I'll teach you a lesson. Well, Mother, I had my reasons for leaving. It doesn't matter. We're moving to a nice, new apartment. If you want to come live with us, I'll tell you where it is. I'm sure my mother-in-law has no idea what's really going on. Well, that works in my favor. No, I don't want to live with you. My name is Grace, I'm 35 years old, and I work in an office. My husband, William, and I have been married for 5 years. He's 40, 5 years older than me. I used to date older guys, but I was drawn to William because he was kind and generous. Our relationship was good, so we got married. Things were fine at first, but soon, things started to go wrong. I lost my job. Then, William got fired too. The reason? The company he worked for wasn't doing well because of the recession. I never imagined that he'd get fired because he worked for a big company. I thought we'd always have money, but nothing is ever guaranteed. Suddenly, we didn't have enough money. I was a stay-at-home wife, but I decided to go back to work. I called my old company, and they agreed to hire me. A worker had just left to have a baby, so they needed someone. I was relieved that we would have some income again. I hoped William could find another job, but it wasn't easy for a man his age to get hired, so he ended up working part-time as a day laborer. His salary was about $700 a month. My pay wasn't much better. We were struggling. Hey, the rent is too high. Can we move to a cheaper place? I asked. If we want to save money, we need to cut our living costs. Before, when William made good money, we never worried about money. We lived in a nice apartment, but now I thought we should face reality and move somewhere cheaper. But he refused. No, we're not moving. Why not? If we move to a smaller, cheaper apartment, my mom will ask me why. So what? Just tell her the truth. We're struggling because you don't have a job now. When I said that, William got really angry. Don't ever tell my mother I'm unemployed. We can pay the rent with your salary and my part-time job. Just leave it at that. I was shocked. You care more about your pride and your house than about our marriage. Even though we could technically pay the rent, we were still having a hard time with everything else. That's why I suggested moving to a cheaper place, but William wouldn't listen. I had to drop it for now. Life kept being hard, especially after one day when William said something I couldn't believe. Is this all we're having for dinner? You used to make so many dishes. Just because you started working doesn't mean you can ignore your duties. Don't be lazy with managing the house, he complained. His words made me really angry, so I fired back. We don't have a choice. We're struggling. I'm doing my best at both work and home. If someone wasn't so proud and wanted to keep living here, we could save more money. Or maybe you could make more money, and everything could be like before. That made William snap. What the hell? Don't talk to me like that. I'll get another job at a good company and make more money than you, he shouted. He was angry, but I thought to myself, if this makes him want to work harder, maybe I can handle it. But he couldn't find a new job. In the first place, he had to work part-time as a day laborer. Even when he seemed motivated, he couldn't get hired anywhere. I would have understood if he had some extra qualifications or training, but he didn't. He just worked part-time. He got rejected at every interview and hated having to answer to younger people. Eventually, he gave up looking for a job, but he still believed he could make more money than me. I was disappointed and had lost hope, but it wasn't just William the first was worried about. Earlier that day, I got another phone call. It was my mother-in-law. She had called me repeatedly, even though I was at work. When I checked my phone during lunch, I saw there were more than 10 missed calls. When I called her back, her voice was sharp and high-pitched from the moment she answered. Why didn't you answer the phone right away? She demanded. I told you before that I'm at work, I replied. Come on, you call that work? My call should be your top priority. My mother-in-law lost her husband a year ago, so I knew she must be feeling really lonely and was calling me a lot more since then. I should support my mother-in-law, but all she says is that it's a wife's duty to support her husband, and now that I've started working, she's furious and keeps calling me at work. Did you talk to William about this? She asked. You can't even answer my phone calls, she complained. I'm sorry. It's hard for us to live with you now. I'm not asking for your opinion. William won't object to it. No, William thinks it's too difficult. Plus, we're having financial problems. How can there be financial problems? William works for a big company and makes good money. You two are rich, right? I don't know how to respond when she says things like that. William told me not to tell her the truth, so I can't. She calls me selfish for going to work, and she thinks I'm lying about our struggles. Her calls are so annoying, not just when I'm at work, but also at night when I'm home. She thinks a wife's first priority is supporting her husband and taking care of his mother too. You haven't come to see me lately, what's going on? She asked. I'm working full-time, and I'm exhausted. William works part-time on weekends, so we don't have the same days off. I'm sorry, we're both busy, but it's hard to fit visits into our schedules. Your schedule? William's off on weekends. You can come then, right? I could tell she's been upset for a while, and it was getting to me. I thought it was time to tell her the truth about William. No, William works on weekends, I tried to say. But just then, William, who was lying on the couch watching TV, grabbed my phone. Mom, I'm sorry I haven't been able to visit you. I'm working on a big project and even working weekends. I'll visit when I get a break, he said before hanging up and walking back to me. What were you doing? Were you about to tell my mom the truth? He demanded. Just tell her the truth. If you don't, she'll keep saying all these things because she doesn't know anything, I argued. I'm sorry, but don't tell my mom, he snapped. That's enough, keep your pride and tell her the truth, I said, getting frustrated. Shut up, I'm the one who keeps us going. Thank me instead of talking back to me, he shouted, then went back to his room. I feel like I'm about to break. I can't fix our financial problems. William and his mother are both pushing me to the edge. It's too much. William says his job is too hard, but he doesn't do housework. His job isn't full-time, he works weekends and 1 day a week. He could do something to help increase our income or at least help out around the house. Why do you do nothing at home and expect me to do everything? William asked. I couldn't take it anymore, so I decided to leave for a while. I went to stay at my parents' house for a week to show William how hard housework really is. I told my parents what was going on, and they suggested I should divorce William right away, but we were in love, and we'd been married for 5 years. I didn't want to end things so easily. If I was going to divorce him, I wanted to make sure I tried everything first. If that didn't work, then I'd consider divorce. While I was at my parents' house, William called me. When are you coming home? Where's my mail? He asked. I won't be back for a while. You'll have to do all the housework while I'm gone, I replied. That's ridiculous. Just come home and do the chores, he insisted. No, I won't. You know how hard housework is. You can clean, do the laundry, cook, do everything yourself. You need to understand how tough it is to manage the house while I'm working. I decided I didn't care anymore, so I ignored his calls. Staying at my parents' house was a relief. For the first time in a long time, I could share the housework with my dad and mom. My mom would say, "You must be tired," and prepare lots of home-cooked meals. I appreciated not having to do anything while the food was ready for me. I stayed for about a week, but it was hard to stay longer because my parents' house is far from my office, about an hour and a half each way. So, I decided it was time to go back to our house. I was worried it might be a mess, but when I got there, I found it cleaner than expected. However, something felt off. I went to William's room and noticed his clothes and suitcase were gone. I figured he must have gone to his mom's place, so I called him. Why are you calling me now? He answered. Where are you? I asked. I'm at my parents' house, he said. You didn't go there right after I left, did you? Yeah, I did. What's the big deal? You shouldn't have left in the first place. I'm already upset, and I'm not going back to that house. What do you mean? I asked, confused. I'm going to live with my mom. We're moving to a new apartment. I didn't understand what he meant, and before I could respond, his mom picked up the phone. Grace, do you have any idea what you've done? You've abandoned your duty as a wife and caused trouble for William. You're a terrible wife, and I'm going to teach you a lesson. Well, Mother, I have my reasons for leaving. It doesn't matter. We're moving into a new, nice apartment. If you want to come live with us, I'll tell you where it is. I knew my mother-in-law didn't know what was really going on. That worked in my favor, so I said, no thank you. What? She asked, shocked. I'm not going, I repeated. Are you serious? If William's going to live with me, you'll have to be on your own. Can you live alone? You've always relied on him, I replied. Don't worry, I've heard enough to live on my own, she said. If we're not living together, then there's no reason to stay married. I'm divorcing him, I said firmly. What? Her voice was filled with surprise and shock. Grace, there's no need to talk about divorce, she protested. I can't stay married to him anymore. I need to get rid of a husband like that as soon as possible, I said. My mother-in-law snapped. How dare you talk to William like that? We don't want a life like yours either. Fine, William, get a divorce, she said angrily. No, William replied. I'll prepare the divorce papers. You'll regret this, and it's too late for an apology, my mother-in-law added. Same to you, I said, and hung up. When I hung up the phone, I knew that my ex-mother-in-law and William would likely be here soon with the divorce papers. I was actually relieved. Things were finally going the way I wanted. William hadn't changed at all and had gone back to his mother's place. That made it easier for me to stick to my decision. If he wasn't willing to change, there was no reason for us to stay together. I packed my bags and waited. A few hours later, my mother-in-law arrived, along with the divorce papers. Oh, William isn't here, she remarked. He doesn't need to be, I replied, feeling a sense of finality. Here we go. I had him fill out his section. Now, you just need to fill out yours. She handed me the divorce papers. As I looked at the papers, I noticed William's section was filled with shaky handwriting. My William is such a wonderful man, she said, her voice dripping with bitterness. Even though he's married to a horrible wife like you, he's still reluctant to get a divorce. I'll never forgive you for causing trouble for such a great person. I hope you live a poor life and regret it, she continued, her words sharp and venomous. While I filled out my part of the form, my mother-in-law didn't stop ranting at me. It was clear that William's pride had gotten in the way. He couldn't even be honest with his own mother. What a pathetic man he was. She kept on. What happened to your house? I saw it. Well, if you want to come over, there's no place for you now, I shot back. No, I won't, she responded quickly. How much did you sell it for? She asked, almost casually. It was an old house, so it wasn't much, I replied. That's none of your business, but I'll tell you, since I'm being generous, I sold it for $50,000, not much, but enough for retirement. William will pay for our new apartment, she said, trying to sound smug. Wow, I'm surprised you got approved for that, I commented. What are you talking about? William is a high-class person. It's a given, she said dismissively. So, you put the money in William's account? I asked. How did you know that? That's not important. Stop asking about it. And you're just a divorced woman now, she snapped. So, obviously, you're still into him, but it's too late, I said, trying to get under her skin. Don't worry, I've already agreed to the divorce, I said. How are the divorce papers coming along? At that, she snapped, her anger boiling over. She left, leaving me overjoyed to be rid of her and William for good. I moved the rest of my things to my parents' house. At my parents' place, I found everything I needed to start fresh. I picked out things for a single person's apartment. Feeling free for the first time in a long while, I had finally gotten rid of the poverty I had been stuck in. I'm not going to give you William's property, get used to it, I said, recalling William's pale face when we discussed the division of property. I couldn't help but laugh at the memory. Then, about 2 years later, I got a call from an unknown number. I wasn't sure who it could be, but I thought it might be work-related, so I picked up. To my surprise, it was my ex-mother-in-law. Oh my God, Grace, please help me, she cried. Mother, you can't keep calling me that. We're strangers now, I replied coldly. Don't say that, I'm in trouble, she begged. Huh? You can't pay your rent, and your savings are running low? I asked, already knowing what she was going to say. He didn't tell you about the financial problem, did he? You two got broke, and he never said anything. Oh, you knew? I replied, trying to keep my composure. I knew he didn't want to tell you, but every time I tried to talk to you, William told me not to, she explained, sounding defeated. I didn't know. I'm so sorry, Grace, I didn't understand. Please, I need your help, she pleaded. I don't want to help you, I said firmly. He wouldn't change, no matter how much I tried, and you were always bullying me. I don't want to spend time with people like you ever again. Please, don't say that. I don't have anything to eat. I'm really dying, she sobbed. According to my ex-mother-in-law, William had been trying to keep up appearances. He had been hiding their financial troubles, using the money from the sale of the family home to pay rent and pretending everything was fine. His mother would get suspicious if he didn't show some extravagance every now and then. He spent a lot of money on expensive groceries and fancy meals. Because of that, he quickly used up the $50,000. Now, he's broke. Well, he got what he deserved, didn't he? I told him, why don't you put your pride aside and live in a cheap apartment? But my ex-mother-in-law cried and said, this wasn't supposed to happen. I was supposed to live comfortably with my successful son. I quietly ended the call and blocked her number. I even put a restraining order on her, just in case I needed to call the police. All they do is rely on others, whether it's parents or children. They're the same. I learned a lot from them. I'm focusing on living independently. I'm going to focus on my own life and leave behind the truth about a husband who refuses to live within his means, and a mother-in-law who only blames her daughter-in-law without ever questioning her son. I'm so glad Grace could cut ties with such a terrible mother and son. Now, she can live her own life. I hope she meets a wonderful man in the future. I wish her a happy life from now on. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. See you in the next video.